Hello everybody and welcome to the channel, the Elder Millennial here. Today I just wanted to do an extra little review video for Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. The game officially released like just a few days ago, and as of last night, that was August 28th, I just finished my first playthrough of the game. I know a lot of people are complaining about the difficulty of some of the earlier bosses. At least maybe one or two bosses come to mind that people are really complaining about, and that's the helicopter boss at the end of the intro mission, and then the boss at the end of Chapter 1. I will say that the difficulty during most of the missions is fairly easy compared to the bosses. In my own opinion, what is really missing is that middle ground. When you play, the game's either going to feel way too easy at times, and then it's going to shift into way too hard. There's not really much of an in-between when it comes to the difficulty. I've also noticed people saying that the bosses need specific builds, and that having to do that takes away from some of the fun and some of the enjoyment they're having. And I think that's partially true. There are certain builds that will tend to fare better with specific bosses. But the truth is, you can beat the game using whatever build you want. The whole idea is that you'll lose the same fights. Like, you'll get to a boss and you'll just lose that fight over and over again until you learn the boss's moveset well enough to be able to beat them. I never want to come off as one of those annoying gamers that just says, get good all the time. But there's a certain amount of truth to that. The more you fail in this game, the more you'll try new tactics, and you'll eventually succeed. The worst thing to do in this type of game is to just give up. As far as gameplay goes, there's a lot that you'll need to familiarize yourself with and master. For example, there's a quick boost or dodge feature that will take some getting used to. It's the primary way to dodge attacks, but unlike some other FromSoft titles, you don't get invincibility frames when you dodge. You actually have to physically dodge the attacks completely. And most of the time, you won't be able to dodge them completely, though. And you will end up taking some damage. But that damage will be, I'd say, tremendously less than if you tried to tank the whole attack. Dodging and flying or hovering depletes your energy meter, which can take a few seconds to recharge. So stamina management comes into play quite a bit. The game itself is very fast-paced and seems to reward you for being aggressive, especially with the bosses. They can be a bit of a DPS race. It really comes down to how quickly can you do more damage to them than they can to you. Really think of every encounter as sort of a kill or be killed situation. Don't worry though, the game is very generous with checkpoints. There's usually a checkpoint right at boss encounters, so you don't have to do the entire mission over again just to get back to that boss. So there's not a lot of run back like you might have in some other From Software titles. And again, in my personal opinion, the most difficult boss encounter in the game is the boss of Chapter 4. I'll say if you can get that far and you can beat that boss, then you can finish the game. I see no reason at that point why anything else would be able to stand in your way. And really, when you get to the Chapter 4 boss and fight them for the first time, you'll also probably do what I did and start wondering why you ever thought some of those earlier bosses were difficult. Because they're going to seem super easy in hindsight. As far as what you should do when you play, you'll also want to be sure to complete all of the training missions. Now, I know a lot of people tend to avoid training missions in games, but you really want to do all of them in Armored Core 6. Some of them reward you, maybe all of them actually, but I do know at least some of them reward you with parts that you can use when you're equipping your AC. Don't sleep on the arena missions either, as they begin to unlock. Usually, maybe sometimes during a chapter or at the end of chapters, you'll get some more arena missions unlocked. Do those as they come up, just do all of them. because when you complete those, you get OS chips that you can use for OS upgrades. And that lets you enhance your AC and do things like, increase the amount of damage you do for a specific damage type, decrease the amount of damage you take, lets you enhance the amount of healing that your repair kits do, and it just goes on and on, the things you can do with OS upgrades. So they're very, very important. When it comes to the story, I would say the story is kind of lackluster. It's not great, but that's okay. In typical FromSoft fashion, this game is it's less about the story and it's really about the extremely difficult, but I would say very fair, boss fights. If you enjoyed the boss fights in other Souls games or Elden Ring, or even in some non-FromSoft titles, like, what's another good one that had boss fights? Metroid Dread. Then you'll probably want to check out this game if you enjoyed those boss fights. I played the game on PC. I have a moderately high-end rig. I think I've got a 6600 XT graphics card and a 5700G AMD processor. And I can tell you, I did not experience any issues or frame drops or stuttering during my entire playthrough. This has got to be one of the most polished experiences I've had on day one with a game in a very long time. Is this the best game ever? No, probably not. Did it exceed my expectations and blow me away? Yes, I would definitely have to say that it did. It is a very good game and one that I highly recommend you to check out if you can. And this is coming from me, who is someone I've never played an Armored Core game. This was my first experience with it, and I absolutely loved it. Before I go, I wanted to just show you my builds. They're not that different from one another. The first is the one I ended the game with. I spent most of the game running the first set of tank treads that you can buy in the parts shop. Around the time I got to the Chapter 4 boss, I put on, as far as weapons go, I put on 2 Gatling guns and equipped the 2 stun needle launchers. Prior to that, I was running with 2 plasma rifles and had the 2 laser cannon things on as my shoulder weapons. There was at least one occasion where I switched out the treads for legs, and I think it was for the Chapter 2 boss. I was having issues with the boss, and I think a lot of it came down to, or at least I thought it came down to maneuverability, because the tank treads are a little harder to maneuver precisely. And it turns out I was right in that case, because as soon as I switched out the legs, I had no issues with that boss at all. And then I ended up switching back to the tank treads. So most of the game it was the tank treads. But yeah, just feel free if you're having any difficulty at all to swap out whatever parts you think might help. But yeah, I'll show some footage showing all the things that I have equipped and some of the weapons that I did have equipped. But anyway, yeah, that's about it for me right now. So I just wanted to get this out there and give my opinion. It's very positive for Armored Core 6. Like I said, I think you should give it a shot if you like this type of game or the type of game that I've described. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have a lot more content coming, and over the next probably week or so, I'm going to be showing off clips from my playthrough of Armored Core 6, and then I'll probably shift back and finish some of the, I think I've got a Rune Level 1 run of Elden Ring that I've been uploading videos for, so after I upload all my Armored Core 6 footage, then I will shift back and we'll finish that series out, and then who knows what game will be next. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.